Today on Locked On Rockies. Not going to lie, didn't have high hopes for that series, and yet the Rockies take 2 out of 3.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 9th day of September in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. When you like the videos, when you share the videos, when you subscribe, all that stuff really, really helps the show grow. So really appreciate all of the support that you have all shown for us here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel and on the Locked On Rockies podcast. So if you check out the videos there, if you check out all that stuff, really do appreciate the support as we are heading into less than the final 20 games of the season. I think it was 17 games left, something like that, here in the season for 2024. Talk about a quick season. Already flashing before our eyes there. So thank you all so much again for tuning in all season long. Today, we're going to recap, of course, the Brewers series. This might be, depending on how you look at it, there's factors of this that this is one of the better series of the season, and road series, especially when you consider how bad the Rockies have been on the road and how few times they've won series on the road for the Colorado Rockies. That's a series that changes a little bit of the narrative for that road trip as well. And it builds up a nice solid little stretch of baseball. So we're going to not stretch, I should say. We'll revisit that statement here in just a couple of minutes here. As I first got to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So the Rockies, here's the deal. If you were to tell me that the Rockies were to go on the road in a series and strike out a total of, 14 in game one. In game two, what is that? 16 times, 30 strikeouts in 2 games. And let's get the finale here. Only, 36 strikeouts for the Colorado Rockies in that series, if my quick math was correct. Only 6 strikeouts in the finale there. But if you were to tell me that, and this was a road series, I would have called you crazy. There's just, to shake off that many strikeouts, to strike out 36 times, it's pretty crazy. Remember, if you strike, what is it, 27 outs in a ball game, 16 of them being strikeouts is wild. It's a huge problem. Don't let my goofiness fool you. The Rockies strikeout issues and the Rockies strikeout problems are a huge issue. The over aggressiveness, the approach and everything. While the Rockies end up winning they can't keep striking out at this rate. They can't keep striking out at this clip. They can't keep going down looking. And that's the high strikeout games are going to happen as the Rockies continue to pull out lineups that are going to have a bunch of young guys. But let's take a look at the game in which there was 16 strikeouts in that game. Charlie Blackmon's in the lineup, as well as Hilliard, McMahon, Rogers, Cave. There's still a good chunk of that lineup are some of the older guys. Mix in the fact you got Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar in there, and they're not necessarily as much as the ones you think that are strikeout prone. Still definitely can get strikeouts, but when you still see those names in there, and that many strikeouts still happens. This is the game the Rockies lost, by the way, the 16 strikeout game. That's a problem. Rockies still get 6 hits in that game, but you can't just sit there and say that it's just the young guys. When in games where you have other veteran players starting, you have an issue. Game one, when you're looking at the lineup and it's Tovar, McMahon, Doyle, Tolia, Jones, Stallings, Hilliard, Beck, and Shunk, you feel a little bit better. Not I'll feel a little bit better. You at least understand a little bit more when they strike out 14 times in a game, because that most of that lineup is guys with 2 years or less of experience at the major league level. Ryan McMahon and Jacob Stallings being the only one there, and Sam Hilliard, I suppose, as well in that mix, having that extended look at the major league level. So I'm more all right with that. But that the deep-seated issues with the Rockies' offensive approach can be seen in those games, like Game 2, where they lose, where they strike out a ton, the offense isn't doing much, and it includes veteran players. Now, then you get to the finale of the game. Rockies completely cut down on the strikeouts, only 6 strikeouts in the entire game there. They get to Freddie Peralta by tagging him with 7 hits, 3 earned runs, and 2 walks. And then they pick it up with arguably maybe one of the best performances from Rockies pitching this entire season, and that's from the top to bottom. That finale was impressive. Kyle Freeland had thrown the most amount of pitches he has thrown in inning one in that first game, in that finale against the Brewers. And then the Rockies go on to set down like 23 in a row, something like that, to finish the game. Kyle and it's all young, and not, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. In the middle of that, backing up Kyle, is Halverson and Chavihi, who have both come up into the majors and started raising the eyebrows. The Rockies bullpen still needs to be formed, still needs to be shaped, still needs to be to get consistency and experience. But golly, is it fun to watch guys come out and just throw smoke out of the bullpen? It's fun to know that the Rockies have guys that can come out there and get the strikeout, throw some gas, hit some powerful pitching. And the Rockies pitching hit their spots yesterday. No drama. No nothing from Rockies pitching yesterday. No walks from Rockies pitching. 3 hits. And they end up with 7 strikeouts on the day. That's pretty darn. For Rockies pitching, you can't ask for much more, especially on the road in a series finale. We've seen the Rockies have a lot of chances to win games win series games and series finales and win series and things like that. Rarely have they put it together this season into that. The Rockies faced the adversity of the strikeouts this season, or this series, and still came out on top in a situation in which that was a series which the Rockies were outmatched. That was a series in which the Rockies, the issues with the Colorado Rockies can be exploited and are the strengths of the Milwaukee Brewers. That's a good series win on the road. When we're looking for it, yes, it doesn't change the big picture stuff, but that is a good team to go out on the road and beat. And it's really interesting because the way, in reality, the Rockies easily could have been swept in both of these series when you're just going talent on paper, road series for the Rockies. For the Rockies to salvage at least the one in Atlanta and then to go on and beat Milwaukee is a good sign, because both of those teams are designed to beat the Rockies. And I say that because the Rockies, you go up against the Braves, offense team that can hit a lot of home runs and can strike you out a ton. I mean, on the other side. So literally, the Rockies give up a bunch of home runs, the Rockies strike out a lot, and the Braves can punish you on both of those. Rockies lose that series, but instead of getting swept like it could have been, salvage one at the end. Go into Milwaukee, a team that's got pitching, and an offense that's flown under the radar, headlined by Willy Adames this year, that has shown that the Brewers, you might not hear the name kind of ring a lot in terms of buzz, but they're 20 wins over 500. They're dominating their division, and they're 9 games up in their division. This is a Brewers team that's locked and loaded, ready to go. This is a Brewers team that's only 3 wins behind the Phillies and only 4 wins behind the Dodgers. This Brewers team is arguably the third best team in the National League when you're going by record and when you're going by performance. And the Rockies went into their house and handled business. The 22-53 on the road Colorado Rockies, with lineups with their young guys, went into there and won that series. That's a good sign. That's a great sign. The strikeouts are still a huge issue, still a massive problem. But I guess at this stage, if you're going to go through the growing pains, if you're going to go through the issues, You're going to face some of those that type of adversity as you're getting your reps and going through it. Let's keep breaking down this series. Let's keep talking about what we liked. Let's keep talking about we haven't even talked about the fact that Brenton Doyle has continued. Brenton Doyle solidified the Gold Glove in this weekend series. Let's keep talking about this. This was a surprising series. I mean, I did not think I was coming in this Monday talking hype about the Rockies and talking about the Rockies being on a stretch where they've won 3 of the last 4 here on the road. Let's keep the good times rolling here on this Monday episode of Locked On Rockies. We will do that coming up in segment number 2. Before we do that, though, folks, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel. FanDuel's got you covered here throughout the football season, and not just football season, but the rest of baseball season, including the playoffs and all sorts of other sports action. You can see it all on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. They got a little something different for you all, as well as football season is here. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. That means if you want to bet on the Rockies, maybe believe in a Bo Nix bounce back, or check out some of the other stuff going on the world of FanDuel, you can. And you can get yourself a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel anytime. And if that's not enough, FanDuel also has something special for our listeners this weekend. Be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all Sunday, this Sunday, the 8th. Oh, I'm sorry. This actually just wrapped up. Sorry, this hasn't been updated, but keep your eyes out for all the great promos that FanDuel runs, and maybe they've got another one coming for you here this Sunday. Visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot. That's what we do around here each and every day, talking Rockies free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Hey, shout outs to our guy Sully, who's the best listen for your second listen of the day. Locked On MLB's got you covered. All things baseball throughout a very exciting time of the year. Let's see. I mean, there's just so much intrigue here. Looks like the NL West has fallen a little bit to the wayside here, but see, did the Dodgers play anybody in the NL West coming up soon here? Oh, by the way, you can get all your Rockies play-by-play action on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. No, of course, for the Dodgers, their only NL West action that remains this season is the fact that they play the Rockies in 6 games to end the 6 out of the last 9 games of the season, just because, that makes sense for the schedule. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Listen, I don't have a lot of credibles to this. This is the homer in me coming out. This is the Dodgers hater in me. Come on. We've now had multiple seasons in which the Dodgers finished their time at the end. Every other NLS team, the Padres, maybe not the Padres, the Giants, the Diamondbacks, boy, would they love to finish their season with the home and road flip-flop to end the season with the NOS rival. But instead, of course, the Dodgers get a cakewalk at the end there. And I say that sure, maybe the Rockies come to the occasion, but it's again, a terrible matchup for them. And again, it's a moment in which just throwing it out there, I think the powers that be just wanted a little extra. I think they've just wanted the Dodgers to have a little extra hype going into the playoffs at the end, so they can keep playing these end of the season Rockies matchups. Because why are the Rockies done playing the Dodgers or the Giants already, or the Padres already? They're in California. Just a little bit of conspiracy for you on this Monday. We've brought it up before. It's not a new conspiracy theory for us around here. That's for sure. Anyway, what were you talking about? The Brewers series. That's right. Guys, Brenton Doyle. I don't think there's enough things to be said about just how good he has become, how good the defense is, how much of a game changer he is for the Colorado Rockies. Brenton Doyle is solidifying himself as a lot of players or a lot of fans' next favorite player. And a lot of people are going to be sitting there worried that they're going to trade him and they're going to move on and they're going to have the usual things, blah, 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 blah. The Rockies never probably, I mean, there's still too much time. Baseball is still a game that can get real cruel real fast. So maybe I don't want to get ahead of my skis here. But I can't disagree with a lot of the sentiments that we're seeing that this might be the greatest center fielder the Rockies have ever had. Brenton Doyle is at minimum top 5 center fielder in baseball. Baseball, not NL, not AL, top 5 center fielder in baseball. And I'd argue that there might even be an argument for top 3. Brenton Doyle has been incredible. Brenton Doyle's throw to win the game on Friday, that's the type of stuff that sends chills. That's the type of stuff when your team is playing meaningful baseball down the stretch and you pull off plays like that, that's what sets you apart. The Rockies have a long way to go. The Rockies have a lot of problems to fix. But Brenton Doyle is not one of them. Especially because it's been a full season, and it's because the offensive growth started at the end of last season. Brenton Doyle has developed and figured out an approach that has made him just grow at an exponential level into an elite level talent. Whatever the path and whatever the work plan and whatever the workflow of Ezekiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle is, it is working for them. We are looking at 2 guys that are setting the stage to be the next foundational, generational Rockies players for fans. Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah. That all stuff is way down the line. I'm talking about players whose talents and abilities and performance on the field the last 2 seasons are sparking the passion for I want to go to Coors Field to watch those guys. I'm not going to Coors Field because I want to watch the whoever's in town. It's a beautiful day in Denver. I got a cheap ticket. No. I am going to Coors to watch Brenton Doyle play center field. I am going to Coors to watch Ezekiel Tovar play second base. Or no, I'm sorry, second base. A whole huge hype up thing right there and totally whiffing on Ezekiel Tovar's position. Regardless, they are the guys that are when people say, why do you watch the Rockies? I watch the Rockies because they have one of the best center fielders in baseball. I watch the Rockies because they have one of the best young shortstops in the game. I watch the Rockies because they have a first baseman that's really starting to bubble and boil and become interesting. I watch the Rockies because they have an infield of Gold Glove caliber defense. There are things that are starting to piece together, and it's just going to come to the Rockies are going to have to add talent around this and develop talent around these guys, certainly. But what you're seeing right now, and is not going to be perfect, there's still a great chance the Rockies set a new loss record this year. The schedule is still daunting to finish this season for the Rockies. But what we're just seeing a Rockies team with young guys that is showing fight, that is showing a different look, a different feel for themselves. We're seeing a Rockies team that's stepping up to the occasions and playing good teams. The Rockies have played playoff caliber teams in the last 3 series for them. In that time, they have gone 1, 2, 3, 4. They got 4 wins and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses. So this includes the Baltimore series at home. But are you not, you can't sit there and say you're not at least a little bit encouraged by the fact that the Rockies have gone 4-5 against, 2 division leaders and a team. I guess Atlanta is not technically a playoff team right now with some of the stuff that's going on with them and some of the issues they're facing. But my point is, this is a team that has been throwing punches back at some of the best. The Rockies haven't gotten necessarily blown out in these games against good teams. There's only, you have to go back to the 10-3 loss against the Yankees here when you're talking about the recent core of games where the Rockies have gotten blown out against a good team. These other losses, they lost by 5 to Atlanta, to Baltimore. They've had 3-run losses and stuff. So they've had some big number losses, but they've still been in there. They've still shown some fight. And then of recently, they have stolen some games. Austin Gomber dominated the Atlanta Braves. Brenton Doyle stole a game from the Milwaukee Brewers. And the pitching has come up and done just enough as well. I mean, there's just a lot of things to look at and say, yes, the Rockies are putting losses up on the board. But if you're going to sit there and be really discouraged by how this road trip and how this last stretch against good teams is gone, I think you're looking at it wrong. I looked at this stretch of Baltimore, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Detroit with 9 of those games being on the road and saying there's no possible way this team is going to be successful on the road, and especially when they come up and they start the road trip by getting blanked in Atlanta. But on the flip side, it shows that there has been growth. There has been development, and it's highlighted and headlined by the fact that Brenton Doyle has the ability to end ball games on a rope from center field. I mean, that's an impressive. I mean, that was one of the best endings to a game that I have seen in a long, long time. And fans responded as well. I got a lot of likes on that tweet there when I said that exact same thing. I was like, the walk-offs are great. Walk-off homers are great. Shutting the door with strikeouts is great. But for Brenton Doyle to get a pop out and then throw that batter out on a line, and then in that same series, make an incredible diving play in center field, the Milwaukee Brewers know who Brenton Doyle is now. And they certainly are going to take notes. And I think that's the case for a lot of other teams as well. Let's put a bow on our Brewers talk here, and let's look ahead to Detroit. Detroit on Tuesday. Off day for the Rockies today as they head to Detroit. They will so no game tonight. They will be picking things back up in Detroit there with Blaylock on the bump. So let's dive in and let's take a look at where Detroit is when it comes to the playoff hunt. Let's dive into all that and more coming up on the next episode, or not the next episode, the next segment of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. Locked On MLB, perfect spot for your second listen of the day. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs got you covered. Don't miss out on all the postcasts. That's not just Rockies postcasts, all the postcasts for all the major Colorado sports there on the Locked On Denver Sports channel. Check it out there. Okay, folks, so we've been talking about this Brewers series, and again, I've been talking highly. I've been talking great. Has it been perfect? No. The Rockies still struck out 36 times in a series. That's a huge problem, right? It's still an issue. But the Rockies also got timely hitting. The Rockies also are continuing to see Sam Hilliard have a little bit of that power resurgence. We're seeing more and more Michael Toglia continues to develop and grow and get more and more comfortable at the major league level. There is a lot to be encouraged by in that series. on top of the fact that there's still a lot to work on. There's still a lot of growth. There's still a lot of growing pains to going on to this. But Jaden Hill gets to make his debut. There was a lot to enjoy. And I think that's the way to look at it. That's the way to be watching the Rockies for the rest of this season. It's let's see where the Rockies are succeeding. Let's see where the Rockies are having strengths and having positive outcomes. Let's not ignore the other issues. Let's not ignore the fact that the Rockies struck out 36 times and have struck out a ton all season long. I think I heard during Game 2's broadcast, I think this was, where it was the Rockies have the worst strikeout differential between hitters and batters. Like the amount of times, Spilly was breaking it down. Basically, it was the amount of batters that the pitchers strike out compared to the amount of strikeouts that the Rockies offense has. And the Rockies were rock bottom at like minus 500, that Spilly was saying. And like the Padres were at the top at plus 320. The data, the splits, there are so many things where the Rockies where you just look at and you scream in horror, because it's like, not only are they bad, they're bad. They're down bad when it comes to something like that. But in the context of baseball, in the context of the series, the Rockies still took 2 out of 3 from the Brewers. The Rockies still won a road series in which they struck out 36 times. I don't think you can say that very often. I don't think you could say that that's something that happens too much with these guys. So, anyway, Rockies are going to be playing the Detroit Tigers here, and the Detroit Tigers are going to be sitting in a situation here where they are 3.5 games back, licking their chops at this series here. This is, the Mariners are 3.5 back on the wild card as well. So this is a big series for both of these teams, because the Tigers have the head-to-head against the Mariners. So if the Tigers are able to handle business and say Minnesota struggles here, and Minnesota is about to play the Angels coming up next. Kansas City is also in that race there. They got the Yankees coming up next. Detroit and Seattle are pretty far behind Kansas City here. I think they're more focused on that third wild card spot. But this is a big series for the Tigers, and this is a big moment for them. Again, this is a team that's 35-34 at home. Team is plus 22 on the win differential, 5-5 in their last 10. This is a series for the Tigers and kind of a make or break moment for them. If this is this is again a situation in which the Rockies are putting themselves in to shake up the playoff standings. You take 2 out of 3 here against the Detroit Tigers, and you're gonna sink that those playoff hopes pretty well. Unless Minnesota loses and keeps things pretty medium there. But Detroit can't afford to lose this series. And the Rockies, this whole month is playing spoiler, right? This whole month is shaking up the postseason thing. You did it against a team that's got elite strikeout talent. Now go up against the Tigers team that's got elite, another team that's got some really interesting strikeout talent. 73-71 though for the Tigers there. The AL Central has just ended up being a good division this year outside of the White Sox. We'll just kind of knock them out of there, but every team's above 500 outside of the White Sox there in that division. Wow, that is a competitive one. It is going to, and so this is, like I said, this is a situation. This is a huge spot for the Tigers. And they're a team that doesn't, offensive wise, they rank 19th batting average, 25th, 28th on base percentage, 22nd on slugging. They're not going to, the offense doesn't, intimidate you like the Rockies have seen of late. But here's the kicker. 4th in team earned run average of 3.69, a whip is second best at 1.18, and an opponent batting average against of 236, which is 9th in baseball. That's the kicker right there. It's another test for the young Rockies offense here. How can they handle another good pitching staff on the road and a team that is bloodthirsty for that playoffs? Detroit wants that shot. Talk about a team that also has a long history of frustration and bad baseball. They would love to snap their playoff drought and get back in there. So this is a big series for the Tigers and another opportunity for the Rockies to rise to the occasion here and impress on this road trip. If the Rockies win this series, you finish over 500, have 2 series wins on the road against 2 playoff caliber teams. That's pretty good. But they're going to turn to a young guy, Bradley Blaylock, here on the bump to get things started first, and it's going to have to come down to the young guys again. Can the young guys continue to help, continue to grow, and continue to help out with this team? Both teams are 3-2 in their last 5. Going to be really interesting to see how this series shakes out. We'll keep looking ahead to the series. We'll be breaking down more of the pitching matchups and a whole lot more tomorrow ahead of the game, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Find us on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. And like I said, wherever you get your podcast. If you need a second listen for the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Or if you want to stay up to date with all things Colorado sports, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Buffs, all free and streaming, all available to you here on the Locked On Rockies Podcast Network. Well, Locked On Podcast Network. We'll talk about it on the Locked On Rockies Network. But folks, have a great rest of your day. And until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies Podcast.